If you're an immigrant waiting for your green card, desperately checking your work permit status, or anxiously counting down the days until your visa interview, what I'm about to share with you could completely change how you feel about your immigration journey in 2026. While headlines scream about enforcement and restrictions, there's a completely different story unfolding behind the scenes at USCIS, at embassies worldwide, and within the immigration system itself. A story of actual movement, real approvals, and genuine hope. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's changing, who's benefiting, and most importantly, what this means for your specific situation. This is information that could literally save you months of unnecessary worry and help you make smarter decisions about your immigration future. Welcome back to US Visa Updates, your trusted source for real actionable immigration information that cuts through the noise and gives you what you actually need to know. I'm so glad you're here as we step into January 2026 together. Before we dive deep into today's incredibly important topic, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now and ring that notification bell. We post regular updates about every aspect of U.S. immigration, from visitor visas to green cards, from work permits to citizenship, and everything in between. Our community is built on accurate information, practical guidance, and supporting each other through this complex journey. And if you find value in today's video, please show your support with a like. It helps us reach more people who desperately need this information. Now let's talk about where we are right now. As we welcome this new year, I know many of you are carrying heavy burdens. You're dealing with applications that have been pending for months or even years. You're facing uncertainty about whether your work permit will be renewed in time. You're wondering if that interview letter will ever arrive. You're watching your family grow older in another country while you wait for approval to bring them here. You're checking your case status obsessively, hoping for any sign of movement. And honestly, after years of unpredictability, backlogs, and constantly changing policies, it's completely understandable if you're feeling exhausted, frustrated, or even hopeless. But here's what I want you to know, and this is critically important. While the U.S. immigration system is far from perfect, while it absolutely remains strict and demanding, and while the current administration continues to emphasize enforcement and compliance, something significant is happening. There are real measurable signs that not everything is moving in the wrong direction. In fact, across multiple areas of immigration processing, we are seeing developments that point towards stability, genuine progress, and in some cases, life-changing relief for families who have been waiting far too long. I want to be crystal clear from the start. I'm not here to tell you that immigration has suddenly become easy, because it hasn't. I'm not going to pretend that every case is flying through the system, because that's simply not true. And I'm certainly not suggesting you should relax your vigilance or stop being meticulous with your applications. What I am telling you is that there are specific areas where real movement is happening, where processing is genuinely improving, and where families are finally seeing the results they've been praying for. Over the next several minutes, we're going to walk through these areas of positive development together. We'll look at green card processing improvements, work permit trends, visa processing both inside and outside the United States, congressional signals that could impact future policy, changes in enforcement priorities, and what all of this actually means for you and your family. My goal is for you to finish this video feeling informed, grounded in reality, and cautiously hopeful about what may lie ahead in 2026 main content. Let's start with one of the most critical areas for so many of you, green card processing. Throughout the final months of 2025, something important was happening at USCIS that didn't make headlines, but matters enormously to families across America. The agency quietly continued intensive efforts to reduce internal backlogs, particularly for family-based adjustment of status cases filed by people already living inside the United States. Now, I need to be honest with you. Timelines still vary significantly depending on which service center is handling your case. Processing at the Nebraska Service Center might look very different from processing at the Texas Service Center or the National Benefits Center, but here's what multiple immigration attorneys, paralegals, and applicants themselves have been reporting. Many people are experiencing faster interview scheduling than in previous years, and once cases are complete with all required documentation properly submitted, adjudication is happening more consistently and predictably. This improvement has been particularly noticeable for immediate relatives of U.S. citizens. I'm talking about spouses of citizens, parents of adult U.S. citizen children, and unmarried children under 21 years old. These categories are special because visa numbers are always available for them. There's no waiting for priority dates to become current. There's no annual cap limiting how many can be approved, and USCIS has continued to prioritize these cases throughout the system. For applicants who filed their paperwork correctly, who responded promptly to any requests for evidence, who attended their biometrics appointments and medical examinations on time, approvals are moving more steadily than they have in years. Now, does this mean every single case is fast? Absolutely not. Some applications still face delays for various reasons, whether it's missing documentation, security clearances taking longer, or administrative processing. But what it does mean is that the system is functioning more predictably for many families. You can plan around these timelines with more confidence than you could 2 or 3 years ago. If you file correctly and maintain your eligibility, there's a much stronger likelihood that your case will move through the system without getting lost in bureaucratic limbo. Employment-based green cards represent another area where we're seeing signs of stability and even progress. Yes, the backlogs for applicants from certain countries remain substantial. If you're from India or China and you're waiting for an EB2 or EB3 green card, you already know that priority date movement can feel agonizingly slow. The decades-long waits for some categories are still a harsh reality. But here's what's also true. USCIS has continued to approve cases efficiently when priority dates are current and documentation is complete. The agency has been making consistent use of available visa numbers throughout the fiscal year, which is actually a big deal. In previous years, we sometimes saw situations where visa numbers went unused because of administrative inefficiencies, which is incredibly frustrating when you consider how many people are waiting. But recent efforts have focused on reducing wasted allocations, ensuring that when visa numbers are available and a qualified applicant has a current priority date, that number gets used. This has translated into forward movement rather than stagnation, even if that movement feels slower than anyone would like. Let's talk about work permits because I know this is causing anxiety for many of you. Employment authorization documents are absolutely critical for so many people in this country. If you can't work legally, you can't support yourself or your family. You can't maintain the career you've built. You can't contribute your skills and talents to the American economy. So, when USCIS announced in late 2025 that they were reducing the maximum validity period for certain EAD categories, I understand why people panicked. Shorter validity periods mean more frequent renewals, more fees, more paperwork, and more opportunities for something to go wrong during processing. But here's the other side of that story, and this is genuinely important good news. At the same time, USCIS reduced validity periods. The agency simultaneously improved internal processing efficiency for renewals. The median processing times for many EAD categories have not only stabilized, but in some cases have actually improved compared to earlier years when delays were wildly unpredictable. Think back to 2022 or 2023 when people were waiting 6, 8, 10 months or longer for EAD renewals, often losing work authorization entirely during those gaps. That kind of chaos has significantly decreased. For applicants who file early, and I cannot stress this enough, you should be filing your EAD renewal at least 120 to 150 days before expiration for those who follow the instructions precisely, who submit complete applications with all required evidence, and who maintain their eligibility throughout the process. Renewals are moving through the system with fewer interruptions than many people feared. This is particularly relevant for several groups. If you're adjusting status to permanent residence and you need your EAD to work while you wait. If you're an asylum applicant with a pending case. If you're waiting for your final green card decision after approval, the ability to maintain continuous work authorization remains intact if you comply with all the rules and timelines. Yes, shorter validity periods require more attention and vigilance on your part. You need to calendar your renewal dates carefully. You need to gather your documents early. You need to pay the fees. But the trade-off is that when you do everything correctly, the system is actually processing these renewals more reliably. That's a form of stability that really matters in people's daily lives. Now, let's shift our attention to visa processing abroad, because for many families, this is where the real bottleneck has been. The National Visa Center has long been a source of frustration with document review times that seem to stretch endlessly and communication that felt like shouting into a void. But as we enter 2026, we're seeing more consistent processing patterns. Document review times have become more predictable. Cases that were delayed during the pandemic years and the subsequent backlog crisis are now moving forward with more regularity. It's not perfect and it's not instantaneous, but it's movement. Even more significantly, consulates around the world have been expanding interview capacity in several key regions. Think about what this means practically. During the worst periods of recent years, families were waiting literally years for interview appointments at certain embassies. People were missing job opportunities. Children were growing up separated from parents. Elderly family members were passing away before reunification could happen. But now, with expanded capacity, more interviews are being scheduled. More cases are reaching final decisions. Not every embassy is operating at full capacity yet, and some locations still face challenges with staffing or security concerns. But the overall trend, and this is what matters, is toward gradual normalization rather than ongoing shutdowns or unpredictable closures. This is happening for both family-based and employment-based immigrant visas. It's happening for diversity visa winners. It's creating real opportunities for families who have been separated for far too long to finally come together. The waiting isn't over, but the waiting is becoming more bearable and more predictable. Temporary visas represent another bright spot in this landscape. If you're an international student preparing to start a program at an American university, if you're a professional planning to work in the United States on an H-1B or L-1 visa, if you're participating in an exchange program, you're likely seeing clearer timelines for visa processing at many consulates. This is particularly critical for students who need to arrive in time for semester start dates and for professionals who have job offers with specific start dates. While security screening remains appropriately strict, nobody's suggesting we should compromise on security. The processing itself has become more predictable in many locations. You can plan your travel, make your arrangements, and have reasonable confidence that your visa will be adjudicated within expected timeframes. Let me address something that often gets overlooked in immigration discussions, but matters enormously: congressional signals and potential policy changes. I know many of you are weary of hearing about immigration reform. It's been discussed, debated, and promised for decades with limited results. No major comprehensive immigration reform bill has passed. And frankly, given the current political environment, sweeping reform seems unlikely in the immediate future. But here's what you need to understand. Congress doesn't only impact immigration through major legislation. Lawmakers from both parties continue discussions on targeted fixes, specific problems that could be addressed without requiring complete system overhaul. These discussions often focus on workforce shortages, legal immigration efficiency, and addressing the most egregious long-term backlogs. Historically, Congress moves slowly on immigration. That's just reality. But incremental changes, and particularly funding decisions, can still significantly impact processing capacity and agency operations. When USCIS receives increased funding, even without major policy reform, that money can be used to hire more officers, improve technology systems, reduce backlogs, and enhance case handling efficiency. These behind-the-scenes improvements often matter more in the short term for individual applicants than headline-making bills that may take years to implement. As we begin 2026, there are ongoing discussions in Congress about resource allocation that could support continued backlog reduction. Again, I'm not promising dramatic reform, but I am telling you that the conversation about improving legal immigration processing continues, and that conversation has the potential to translate into real operational improvements. Now, I need to address something that causes tremendous anxiety in immigrant communities: deportation policy and enforcement priorities. Under the current administration, enforcement remains a clear priority. That's not a secret, and I'm not going to minimize it. However, and this is crucial to understand, enforcement efforts continue to focus primarily on individuals with serious criminal convictions, people who have violated immigration laws in egregious ways, and those who pose security concerns. For law-abiding immigrants with pending cases, with approved petitions, with strong family ties to the United States, the mass enforcement that many people feared has not materialized in the way that apocalyptic predictions suggested. Immigration attorneys across the country continue to report that routine applicants, people with no criminal issues, people who are simply waiting for their cases to be processed, are not being targeted simply for having pending green card or visa applications. If you're following the law, showing up for your appointments, maintaining your status, you're not the focus of enforcement operations. While caution is always advised, you should absolutely know your rights and have a plan. the enforcement environment remains more focused and targeted than many families feared it would be. This doesn't mean you should be cavalier. It doesn't mean there's no risk if you're out of status or have violated immigration law, but it does mean that for the majority of people following the rules, the fear of sudden detention or deportation while waiting for legitimate applications to be processed is not matching the reality on the ground. Let me talk about something that might seem small, but is actually enormously important: clarity and predictability. One of the most stressful aspects of navigating U.S. immigration is uncertainty. Not knowing whether rules are about to change, whether your case is frozen, whether new policies will retroactively affect your application, whether the system itself is functioning at all. This kind of uncertainty makes it impossible to plan your life. You can't make career decisions. You can't make housing decisions. You can't make family decisions when you have no idea what's coming next. As we enter 2026, USCIS policies are clearer. They're published on official websites, and they're being consistently applied. Are they strict? Yes, absolutely. The bar for approval hasn't been lowered. Compliance requirements haven't been relaxed, but the rules are no longer shifting weekly the way they did during certain periods of policy chaos. This stability, even if the rules themselves are demanding, allows applicants to plan, to prepare properly, to move forward with more confidence. You know what's required, you know what documentation you need, you know what timeline to expect. That knowledge is power. The Visa Bulletin continues to play a critical role in determining who can move forward with their immigration applications, and here too, we're seeing reasons for cautious optimism. While movement varies significantly by category and country of chargeability, the Bulletin has continued to advance in several employment-based and family-based categories throughout recent months. Even small forward movement, sometimes just a few weeks or months, can be incredibly meaningful for families who have waited years or even decades. The fact that the Visa Bulletin continues to advance, that visa allocation is happening steadily, suggests that the system is functioning rather than being completely stalled. For people watching these dates month after month, year after year, any forward movement represents hope. It means the line is moving. It means people ahead of you are getting approved. It means your turn is getting closer. This steady allocation of visas is a sign of a functioning system, even if that system moves far more slowly than anyone would prefer. Let me acknowledge the deeply human side of this moment, because immigration is fundamentally about people's lives, not just policy and processing times. For many immigrants and their families, good news doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean the system has become fast or easy. Good news means receiving an approval notice in the mail after years of silence, after checking your case status online every single day, after nights of worry and stress. It means being able to renew your work permit without losing your job, without facing a gap in employment that could devastate your finances. It means finally attending a visa interview that was postponed multiple times, sometimes for reasons beyond anyone's control. It means booking a flight to bring your spouse or child to America after years of separation. These are not small victories. When people dismiss immigration progress as incremental or insufficient, they're often missing the fact that for the individuals and families experiencing these approvals, these are life-changing, transformative moments. The ability to work legally, to live without fear, to reunite with loved ones, to build a future in this country. These things matter more than I can possibly express in a YouTube video at the same time, and I want to be completely realistic with you. Immigration in 2026 still requires patience. It requires meticulous attention to detail. It requires compliance with every rule and regulation. Mistakes still cause delays, sometimes significant ones. Enforcement still exists. Not every case will move quickly. Some applications will face complications that are frustrating and unfair. The system is not fixed. It's not easy. It's not accessible to everyone who deserves to be here. But the presence of functioning systems, the existence of consistent processing, the visibility of actual approvals happening across the country, this is itself a form of good news for families waiting abroad, counting down the days until interview appointments, for workers contributing their skills and talents to the American economy while waiting for permanent residence, for students planning their educational futures, for spouses hoping desperately to reunite with their loved ones. January 2026 begins with more structure and less chaos than many people feared would be possible. The message as this year begins is not to relax completely. You still need to be vigilant, accurate, and proactive with your immigration matters. But the message is also not to lose hope. Immigration remains difficult. There's no denying that reality. But it is moving. The gears are turning. Cases are being processed. Approvals are happening. And for many people watching this video right now, that movement is finally forward. That brings us to the end of today's comprehensive update on the state of U.S. immigration as we begin 2026. I hope this video has given you a clearer, more nuanced understanding of where things actually stand. Beyond the headlines and the fear-mongering that often dominates immigration discussions, the truth is almost always more complicated than either the most optimistic or the most pessimistic predictions suggest. Here at US Visa Updates, our mission is to provide you with accurate, actionable information about every aspect of the US immigration journey. We cover visitor visas like the B1 and B2 work visas, including the L1A, L1B, and H1B programs. Student visas like the F1 and M1, all green card categories from employment-based EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5 to family-based immigrant visas, naturalization and citizenship processes, DACA updates, asylum procedures, visa denials and appeals, processing time updates, policy changes, and so much more. If you haven't already subscribed to US Visa Updates, please take a second right now to click that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Immigration policy and processing can change quickly, and we're committed to keeping you informed every step of the way. Share this video with anyone you know who's navigating the immigration system. Share it in your WhatsApp groups, your Facebook communities, your family group chats. This information can genuinely help people make better decisions and feel more confident about their situations. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are in your immigration journey. Are you waiting for a green card? Are you preparing for a visa interview? Are you dealing with a work permit renewal? I read every comment, and your experiences help inform the content we create for this channel. We're building a community here, and your voice matters. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button. It makes a huge difference in helping us reach more people who need this information. Check out the other videos on our channel for detailed guides on specific visa categories, processing strategies, common mistakes to avoid, and success stories from people who've navigated this system successfully. Remember, while the immigration system is challenging, you are not alone in this journey. Thousands of people are walking this path with you, facing similar challenges, experiencing similar frustrations, and celebrating similar victories. Stay informed, stay compliant, stay hopeful, and most importantly, stay connected to resources and communities that support you. Thank you so much for watching US Visa Updates. I genuinely appreciate your time and trust. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in the next video with more updates, more insights, and more information to help you succeed on your US immigration journey. Stay strong, stay informed, and keep moving forward.